Hi everyone, I got a help request asking whether Afterglow could recreate the lighting style present in this ArtStation post. So we have these Gundam models and it's a very kind of basic soft studio light with a dark light catcher, which the models are just standing on. And the answer is yes, obviously it can. In my mind, it will just be a very quick change on one of the later Studio Cage presets. So let me just show you how I would do something like that. So if I go into one of my basic files and I'm just going to clear it out. So this is basically an empty file now. I'm going to open up the Afterglow asset library. Mine might look slightly different because as I've been working on things, the icons or the names or what content is available might have just changed. I go to Studio Cages and we'll start with number 9. And from looking at the images, what I'm thinking is a strong kind of spherical light above, which will give you like the soft shadowing where required, and maybe a couple of half rings to the sides because maybe it will help get a little bit of reflectivity there. And you could always like blend it in HDRI as we go. So for me, Studio Cage 9 by itself looks very dark and very basic. If there was actually something in the side of it, let's put a sphere in there, then it's colored. But I believe it's not colored in the version that's online. So let me just take out the colors. We can see that it's generally a basic dark scene. If I increase the brightness of the light catcher, then we can see we've already got a shape there that's reminiscent of the light catcher behind the character, right? So we can just try and like match the color. I mean, that's pretty close anyway between these two areas. So if I then bring that down, this is a bit too dark because the lighting is focused away from the actual subject. Then obviously the next thing to do would be to bring the lights down. Now obviously there's still modifications to make, but if we now treat the bottom of the light catcher like the main focal point here, then we can imagine that we've got the Gundam models. So obviously there's a few things to change. First of all, we've got all this shadowing effect. The shadowing can actually be disabled in the ray visibility settings. So if we select one of the light objects, you can do that from the outline, it might be easier. Then under the object properties, ray visibility, shadow, you can disable that. And I might actually delete the back one. Although, to be honest, having some kind of backlight might actually improve the lighting of the Gundam type things here because it's actually kind of flat and basic. And maybe that's what you want. But if you wanted the possibility of having a rim light on the back, which might make it more visually interesting, then you can keep that there. I think I'll keep this one above as like the main light source from above. So let me just hide the backlight for now. But then what I might do is take the two ring ones, with them both selected, R, Z, rotate them around, maybe raise them a little bit as well. So what we're doing here is you're seeing we're getting a very, very soft, nice basic studio light scene. Now we can always bias the light backwards a little bit to show more of the light catcher. So I can kind of tilt it backwards, lift it up, and we'll start getting a little bit. Same thing can be done with these ring lights as well. We can just bias them backwards slightly, maybe move that back a little bit. Then we can always like change the scale of things as well. But we're going to have more lighting control, which will become apparent soon. But the wider you make the lighting, the more ambient light will bounce around. So we can see that could be a little trick as well for controlling the intensity. And because the light is controlled by a gradient, we can make it sharper as well. So you can actually bring the black and white bars close to each other, which will slightly sharpen up the shadows and such. But if this gradient is all the way back, then the whole light circle is going to be providing light, if that makes sense. I mean, it's easier to see here like this. See that? So if you just follow the steps that I've done so far, then you will end up with something that looks like this, which is going to give you a really nice starting point for doing renders that are just like this. But obviously, light catcher's a bit darker in this one, but again, it's all just up to you how you want to balance this. You want to darken that? Do you want to increase the lighting, control the sharpness by the gradient? How do you balance it all out, etc.? But that's basically one way you would do it. I don't know how tall the Gundam models would be, but yeah, just starting from one of the studio cages, bringing it down to the light catcher, making a few adjustments based on what you need. I think that's a good way to do it. And if you wanted to keep the lighting a bit limited in the center here, but you still want the back of that light catcher, just bring the catcher forward, you know? Sometimes it's just that simple. Bring that forward, you get a bit more of it, you have your models there, it'll look nice. So hopefully that was useful. Feel free to leave any other requests as well if you want any more help, and have a great day.